Hi everyone, Jackie here with Enjoying Life's Journey. Welcome to a ADHD medication journey update. I cannot believe it's been a year since I started this journey. So I know it's been a while since my last update. I think I updated you guys around April or May when I switched over from instant release Adderall to Vyvanse. So today we're going to kind of give an update, but more importantly, I want to talk about how it has actually helped me and possibly changed my life. So I've finally on a regimen, if you will, that has actually been working. So I thought it'd be helpful to let you know how is it helping, because when I first started this journey, I wasn't really sure what I was supposed to be getting out of it. So we'll talk about that, and hopefully this helps you guys as well. It's a long journey, and I really encourage you guys to stick it out. Try different medications, try different doses, have a doctor that you can trust that actually will work with you. That has been one of the biggest keys in this entire process, is that I do a monthly visit with my doctor, but I also can update and talk with her through our patient portal through email, like whenever I need to. So when I first started this, I was talking with her every week, and we were, trying different doses, then switching medication, all this thing. So I would say probably after 6 months, we finally found the medication that works really well for me. And now another 6 months later, we've kind of dialed things in a little bit. Also keep in mind that once you do find stuff, it's still going to kind of fluctuate, possibly how effective it is, or if you need to change your dose based on life events. So I have examples of that. What medication am I on now? So I'm still on Vyvanse. And I'm currently on 60 milligrams a day of the Vyvanse, and then I take 10 milligrams of instant release Adderall kind of as a booster dose on my work days. I was doing 4 days a week for about 4 hours to 5 hours each day. Now I do only 2 days a week for 10 hours, but because I work for Amazon, so we're getting into peak season, our busy season, so they've been doing mandatory extra time, so we've been doing 11-hour shifts. So I basically take, that Adderall on my last break to get me through the last 3 hours of work. I am actually in the process of trying to change, trying to get off of the Adderall, and I'm trying to switch my booster dose, if you will, to a generic version of Dexatrin. The Vyvanse works a lot better for me than the Adderall, and on the days that I take the Adderall, I notice the next day that my Vyvanse might not be as effective, or some of my symptoms come back. Basically, it's like dextroamphetamine and then amphetamine is the Adderall. So I'm trying to get rid of the added amphetamine. I started off at 30 milligrams of Vyvanse, which you guys kind of saw that craziness. So at the beginning, I was taking anywhere from 40 to 50 milligrams of instant release Adderall. And then I just basically stopped that and went over to the 30 milligrams of Vyvanse. With that first video you guys probably saw a couple months ago, it was so bad at the beginning. It was almost like I was having like a little bit of a withdrawal of being on such a higher dose of Adderall. Normally they do know, like, they're gonna start you at 30 because that's the standard, but they know like they're gonna be bumping you up. So that's why she bumped me up to 60 right away, because she's, after like a week, I was like, oh, this is totally not work. I think it was like 3 days or something. I was like, no way, this isn't gonna work. So she's like, take 2 of them, which would be 60. At the time, I thought it was like too much. I kind of stuck with the 30 for a little while. It was effective in a little bit of ways, but I didn't realize how much the medication could help me until I was on a higher dose. Every time I went up in dose, I was maybe going up every month and a half to 2 months, whereas when I first started the journey, I was going up almost every week. So the Vyvanse was definitely like helping a lot longer. So basically once I got on 40 milligrams, I was doing pretty good. But I did notice I had a little bit more anxiety, and then I had a life event happen that brought me down pretty bad. So then I was up to 50, and then the 60. I wouldn't say I'm dependent on the medication, but because like once something's actually working, like, and you feel like, wow, I have my life together right now and things are going good and it's good, the idea of having to go back is a little scary. ADHD, right? We have inattentiveness and we have hyperactivity, impulsiveness. Sometimes you're a combination of both. I'm a lot more hyperactive, impulsive, but I still have some inattentiveness, so not quite as much. But we're going to talk about focus right now, how the medication has helped me with focus, and then kind of go into how it's helped me with not necessarily the hyperactivity part, but the impulsiveness of the ADHD that I've been having. The things that it's helped me with, these are also things that help me to know if the medication's working or if it's not working. So the first thing is basically I'm able to finish tasks when I start them. So I'm not starting something and then going over here. So an example is when I would get ready in the morning or help my girls get ready for school in the morning, maybe I'd come in the kitchen and I'd start, packing up their lunch. And then one of the girls asked me, oh, where's this? I go help them find it or something. And then next thing you know, I'm in my room making my bed and I'm like, oh wait, I forgot I'm still making the lunch, right? So this would happen. My mornings would be very like ping pong, you know what I mean? And you could call it like I'm multitasking, right? No, you're not. It's just making it really hard. Now I can actually finish what I'm doing when my medication is working. I can finish it before going on to the next thing. Or let's say, again, I'm making the lunch. My daughter says, hey, I can't find this. I can help her find it real quick, but then I can come back to what I was doing and not get distracted somewhere else. So that's been a really big help, and how I know the medication may not be working anymore. And that's kind of the first thing I start to notice, is that I'm a little all over trying to get ready in the morning. We've had so many house projects that we would start and we didn't really finish them fully. So now that I've switched my work schedule, my medication's helping me stay on task, I've actually been able to go back and we've been able to finish or start to catch up on some of these house projects and stay more organized, where I'm not just like, oh, I did a little bit on this house project, now I'm gonna go work on this other one. I'm more like, okay, I'm focused on this one. So that's been really helpful, because now I feel like the house is like finally kind of coming together a little bit. Now, how does this translate at work? Well, at work with Amazon, it's pretty easy to just be like, hey, this is the job I have to do, and stay on that job. I feel like I'm a little more efficient. You know that saying that says work smarter, not harder? I do feel like I'm more efficient maybe. The difference with my focus on the Vyvanse and Adderall is that with Adderall, I would hyper focus, laser focus. I didn't really have a lot of like, I guess, a reward of finishing what I did. I just like, I'm doing it, like blinders on, hyper focus. With Vyvanse, I'm just doing it. It feels easy, it feels natural. I'm not so much hyper focused where I get mad if someone interrupts me. But I'm still like me, and I'm excited to do it. I'm excited of getting it done. So it might not necessarily be like, oh, I'm excited to clean, or I'm excited to do my job in that sense, but it's more like a feeling of accomplishment, right? Like having that sense of accomplishment or fulfillment in what you're doing. You know, Adderall's great if you like are like, boom, I'm gonna laser focus. But on the flip side, if you didn't plan out what you're gonna focus on, you could be focusing on the wrong thing. So that's why I'm like, the Vyvanse is good, because I can still think through what is it that I'm trying to do, even if I forgot to like set my intentions for the day. I can still kind of like I can kind of reel myself back in and redirect myself and figure out, okay, what am I doing? Just feeling a lot more natural, I guess I would have to say. So in the impulsiveness of procrastinating. So you might think, how's procrastinating being impulsive? When we're procrastinating from doing something, we're usually filling our time with something else. So for me, it could be searching up land on the internet for 3 days. I'm not buying anything right now, right? but I could get like sucked into there. Why? Because I'm procrastinating doing something else. So it's kind of that impulsiveness of getting on the computer or getting on your cell phone or whatever it might be. It's helped with kind of the impulsiveness or the need for wanting to drink alcohol. So they do say a lot of people with ADHD, if they're not treated, that they could end up having an alcohol addiction or substance, abuse, things like that. So it's actually helped me cut back quite a bit on even wanting to drink. I just don't want to drink so much. Because I'm kind of like have more control over what I decide to do, and not having that urge to do that, I also kind of lowered my anxiety, because then it's like, well, I'm finishing tasks, right? I'm finishing projects. I'm a little more organized, I guess you'd say, with that, which also helps with some of the impulsiveness as well. I have it's a form of OCD. It's a body focused OCD of skin picking, mostly on my scalp. I shared maybe briefly about this before. When my anxiety starts to rise, I will notice that at the end of the night, I will either want to drink alcohol or I will start to pick at my scalp. And it could be things like I just run my fingers through my hair and I find a scab, a pimple, a bump, something, and then I want to pick at it. Before, this was totally I was unaware I was even doing it until I would have scabs on my head and I'd go to brush my hair the next day and be like, oh my gosh, my head hurts. But now I'm actually aware when it happens. And when my medication is like on point, I just don't even do it. Like I don't have the anxiety to start doing it. So that's been huge. When this comes back, that's when I know it's time to increase my dose. So Vyvanse has been known to really help with impulse control. So if you are someone with ADHD and you are more of the hyperactive impulsiveness, Vyvanse might be helpful for you. But the impulsiveness really doesn't get controlled until you are on the higher doses. It is also prescribed for binge eating disorder, which is a type of, obsessive type impulse. So those people also have to be on a higher dose because that's when it's really more therapeutic. So like I mentioned, focus will start to go a little bit, but it's once the body focused OCD comes back, then I know my medication is no longer effective for me. So that's been huge, just knowing that. And it's like when I've gone like 2 months without messing with my head and I have no scabs or anything, I'm like, wow, this is like pretty cool. Sometimes you don't realize how bad something is until it's not bad anymore. I was like, man, it was getting really bad. The other biggest thing is I've kept my job. I've officially been at Amazon, for a year now, for an entire continuous year. I've worked for Amazon in the past and I've, done peak season and then I leave, whatever. I've always said this, my primary job or role is to manage the household and take care of my kids, and priorities, my values is to be available and to be there for my kids, and be able to take them to school and pick them up. So Amazon's been really great, especially working like at sort centers and things that offer part-time. So the only thing I did do was I switched Amazon locations. I think it's when I needed to switch from 30 to 40, and that's when I started having this antsiness of like, oh my gosh, like this isn't working at this place anymore or whatever, and I looked for a transfer. But it actually ended up being way better, because now instead of working 4 days a week, I work 2 days a week. Still the same amount of hours, 20 hours. Because I work on the weekend, I get an extra shift differential. So I make more money for the same amount of hours, and I only have to drive to work 2 days a week instead of 4 days a week. So overall, it was just a better decision, especially for those who follow and I like to budget everything out. So it was definitely a better financial move. If I had not needed to change my medication amount, I may not have even been looking for a different position. So that was kind of actually a good thing, because then it helped me to transfer over there. I do actually like this one a lot better, and I'm at a fulfillment center now instead of a sort center. The way my schedule is now has really helped kind of just bring things back, because before I was keeping my job, but my house was still kind of falling behind because my medication would be kind of wearing off by the time the end of the day would come. With the Vyvanse, when it works really good and I have my eating schedule down really well, it will last me 12 hours. At work, because I'm moving and burning through it a lot faster, it will last more like 8 hours, and then I work like a 10-11 hour day, so that's why I end up taking the booster dose. Not only have I kept my job, I still actually really enjoy my job at Amazon. My doctor did say when I first started this journey that I may not like my job anymore. You notice I hardly ever post anymore. I didn't feel like I needed to post anymore. I was focused on myself and my relationship with my family and my house and doing all of these things that I didn't really need to do that as much, but I still really do like working at Amazon. So it was interesting how the medication could possibly change your perception on things, and it might make them more enjoyable, or you might realize, hey, I don't need that anymore. I need to change it up. I have a few things that it's helped with that is not necessarily related to ADHD, and that is because of working at Amazon now and I'm active again, and because I cut down on drinking the alcohol, I actually lost some weight. I lost maybe 10 pounds over the course, I would say the first month I lost like 8 pounds like right away. And then my weight's kind of fluctuated. Because I was not active and I was drinking a lot before, I had gained quite a bit of weight. And my cholesterol, when I had my yearly exam last year, my cholesterol was high. Being on the Adderall and the Vyvanse, the ADHD medication, actually helped me lose some weight. And when I had my yearly exam, my blood work this year, my cholesterol is lowered and is back in normal range. All of my blood work actually looks really, really good. So by accident or whatever it is, that medication actually helped me get back into a proper health with that, which is really good. The biggest life-changing thing and the biggest thing that it has helped with regulating my emotions. Okay, so I've always been the type of person, I used to just say, oh, I wear my heart on my sleeve. So sometimes people with ADHD, like their emotions are correct for the situation, but they might seem a little over the top, right? Maybe they're really overly dramatically upset or sad, or they get really mad over something that seems simple, or they're like super, super excited and you're like, okay, it's not that. So for me, the Vyvanse, it's still me. I still get that, though, my same emotions, but it's more regulated where I can sense of like, I'm in a little more control. It's not just taking control of me, and it's a little more, it's not like dialed down completely, whereas with the Adderall, I felt like it more just like stunted everything a little bit more. And I switched from the Adderall to Vyvanse because something was missing, and that's what was missing. The emotional regulation with the Adderall was almost too much. Now I have a little more control over it. I can still feel and properly, address my emotions, but they're not like so over the top. So I have more patience, like way more patience. I notice, like, even just driving in the car, like having way more patience with people on the road, patience with my kids when they're getting ready. I'm a lot more aware of how other people are feeling. Before, I would kind of like suck in other people's emotions. Now I almost like, okay, I have my safety wall up. Yeah, you're upset. I'm more aware that they're upset, and I'm actually thinking about it, but I'm not like, I don't have to feel they're upset anymore. Sometimes when I do see my girls now and I actually can see how they're feeling, I'm like, man, I was gone. I was sleeping. I wasn't aware for so long. I feel like you kind of missed out. But now, a lot more present with them, having conversations and helping them through some stuff, and it's nice with that. So the biggest life-changing thing, and it's been a few months now, so now I feel like I could probably talk about it without totally breaking down, that happened this year, was my mom passed away. So my birthday is July 9th, so I turned 41 on July 9th. My mom was taken to the hospital, I believe on July 5th. So it was kind of, we didn't know exactly what was going on, but then it was going downhill really fast. So on my birthday, I took me and my daughters, we drove to Michigan. So I live in Arizona, my mom's in Michigan. So I drove for 3 days. I did 10 hours each day. At the time, I was on my 40 milligrams of Vyvanse, but I was having to take the Adderall just to get through the drive, just to get through the emotional roller coaster at the hospital. And so, you know, we spent a few days there, and it was just this constant roller coaster of like, okay, she's not gonna make it through the night. Oh wait, okay, maybe she's getting better. Oh, she's not gonna make it. And it was just like insane. I am grateful I was able to make it there in time. I was able to see her, and she saw me, able to tell her I love her. We had that little interaction. She got to see my daughters. It had been 5 years since my mom had seen my girls, and my girls have grown, like, they look like totally different people. So she got to see that. Maybe I will get emotional. Okay. Okay. Like I said, it doesn't totally get rid of your emotions, but it helps you, I think, bring it back. So at the time, I was able to kind of like keep it together. I cried and everything. Seeing her, watching her going through what they call the active dying process, yeah, was pretty traumatic for me. Make matters worse, Ricky got hit by a driver. He was in his truck. He got hit by a driver that was texting and driving and ran a stop sign in our neighborhood. So luckily he wasn't hurt because it wasn't in a, you know, a bigger, faster speed area, but his truck was totaled. And I'm the one that handles all of the budgeting and, you know, logistics. I handle all that stuff usually for him. So while I'm in Michigan trying to, you know, see my mom, and, you know, my brother, my sister and I are trying to like go through everything, the process of like what do we do next, and, you know, everything. It was like that happened, and, you know, Ricky was just like, oh, can you help me with this? And I was like, no, can't. So yes, I noticed the medication wasn't working as much because I was getting really frustrated and annoyed with, you know, Ricky. I knew deep down that my mom was dying, and that's the whole reason I went to Michigan, was so I could say goodbye. She passed away on Friday, July 21st, and I started at the other Amazon location Saturday. So I was a freaking mess. I was just trying to keep my shit together, right? You know, I was in this like mode of like, okay, you have to do this. And then I would have bats of crying. And then when I went to work, it was just like, okay, I was able to keep my emotions together enough at work so I wasn't losing it. Then I would come home and I would lose it because of medication, you know, everything had worn off, and I would totally lose it. And then I went into a deep, deep depression because I only had to work on the weekend. That week, the next week, I just let it all come in. I let it come in. I grieved, I mourned, I looked up the dying process, I looked up the mourning process. I was totally consumed in it. And I don't know if I would have gotten out of that. I was actually at the point of like, what is the point of life? In the past, you guys have watched, usually in July is my new year, and I like to set new goals. And I realized the last couple of years, I hadn't set any goals. I had nothing to go for. And I was mourning the loss of my mom, but I was also mourning her lifestyle of what was and what used to be and what could have been, and how at the end she didn't have anything anymore, or she didn't care enough to want to fight and keep going. You know, she'd already made up her mind a few years before that she would pass. She said she'd be gone by 75. She passed at 74 and a half. So when your mind and your heart are set on something, your body will follow. I wasn't in the state of like, I didn't want to live, but it was the point of like, what's the point? You accomplish all this stuff and you live this life, and then at the end, like, what? Like, what's the point? So that's when we increased my dose, because yeah, I needed to get out of that. So one of the life-changing things that Vyvanse helped with is not only the anxiety of life, but the depression that you can get into. So I had told my mom when I was on this journey at one point, that I could see how people with ADHD, untreated ADHD, who have developed depression, I could see how they could get misdiagnosed with just depression and being treated for only depression, because I had finally been kind of lifted. So the medication, life-changing. It helped me regulate my emotions, but it also brought me out of that deep despair I was in when my mom died. Then I would say about maybe I was on the 50 milligrams and things were, coming out of the depression, get back into life again. And I was starting to revisit. I had a Tony Robbins RPM planner, which is actually part of his Time of Your Life program. And the whole purpose of that is to go through and have, your areas of life management, your categories of improvement, if you will. And so I finally was revisiting that and saying, okay, well, what do I want out of my life? What do I want my lifestyle to look like? So it really it brought that sense of purpose back. I was on the 50 for maybe a month, so we upped me to the 60 milligrams. So I've been on 60 milligrams of Vyvanse now, I would say a month and a half maybe. When it's working, you guys, and you take the time to actually see how it's working and what it's helping with, and maybe what's not, but once it's actually helping you, it can be life-changing, and it can really it can bring some of that stuff back that us with ADHD are missing a little bit of some of our cognitive function or our emotional regulation, our behaviors, our impulses. It can kind of start to bring things back and to help us focus on what is important and to organize and prioritize a little bit. I will say this though, if you don't know how to do something, you don't know how to do something. So if you never learned how to handle your finances and budget your money, the medication isn't going to magically make you know how to do this. If you didn't know how to organize your day or organize your house or you're not going to magically know how to do it. What it will allow you to do is, if you have the desire to learn it, or you should, and you find the resources, it will help you to actually focus on it and to learn it and hopefully implement it. For me, I've had a lot of systems I've learned, and these are systems that have helped me having ADHD and not being medicated all the way up until a year ago. These systems, following the Dave Ramsey's way of budgeting, having the Fly Lady home management system, doing the Primal Blueprint way of having a healthy lifestyle, an active lifestyle, things like that. These things gave me the systems I needed. The medication now has helped me to re-implement them, to revisit them, to stick to them, to actually do them. You need a combination of systems, right? You need routines and things and systems and habits. You need those things to help you, but the medication, I feel like you need it just as much to really help bring it together. But you do need life skills, and you need some of those, and we're not born with them. And if we're not taught them, or we don't go find them to learn them, we're just not going to know them. I'm here to motivate you, hopefully, or encourage you guys, so you're not alone. We're all in a journey together. Definitely take notes. I've been keeping my notebook from the beginning of every time I switch my medication, side effects, all of that. I'm not getting into all of the any side effects really with the Vyvanse, because I haven't had any. Adderall gave me, I would end up having dry mouth or a fast heart rate or whatever. This one's pretty much, I feel normal when it's working. If it's not working though, I do feel pretty or I will get sucked into my phone, right? But yeah, so I encourage you guys just to stick with the journey, find a doctor that will be willing to go on this journey with you, because it is long. If you end up having a doctor who isn't willing to talk to you when you need to talk to them, or change your medication, or try different doses or whatever, find a new doctor, because they are out there and it can definitely help you. And also, if you don't already have some systems that are helping you just to manage life in general, find those systems to put together with your medication. But I would love to hear from you guys in the comments. I like to hear your experiences, what's working, what's not working. I hope this gives you guys some type of inspiration or hope, knowing that it can work and it can be really good. So as always, thanks for watching, and hopefully I'll see you soon. Bye.